The morning fog clung to the hillside cemetery as Margaret Lewis, a frail woman in her 70s, knelt beside a polished headstone. Her fingers, worn from years of hard work, gently placed a bundle of wildflowers on the grave. The name carved in granite read, Eliza Grant, 1990 to 2022. Margaret brushed the stone tenderly. "Morning, sweetheart," she whispered. "It's autumn again, your favorite time, remember? You said it made the world look softer before the cold." For over a year, she'd come every Sunday, rain, frost, or sunshine, bringing flowers she couldn't afford but picked with love. To everyone else, Eliza Grant was just another name on a grave. But to Margaret, she was the woman who once saved her soul. It began 2 years earlier, when Margaret's husband Henry was dying of cancer. Hospitals had become her second home, filled with quiet tears and sleepless nights. And in the chaos of machines and beeping monitors, one nurse stood out, Eliza. She didn't just care for Henry. She listened to his stories, held his hand when pain became too much. She called Margaret Miss M, brought her coffee, and told her that grief never truly leaves. It only changes shape. When Henry passed away, Eliza still visited Margaret's little apartment on her days off, bringing soup, sharing laughter, or just sitting beside her in silence. It was a friendship that crossed generations. Until one morning, a phone call shattered everything. Eliza had collapsed during her shift, an aneurysm, gone at just 32. Margaret stood at the edge of the funeral crowd, clutching tissues in trembling hands. She saw a tall man in a dark suit holding a little girl who kept asking, "When will Mommy wake up?" That was Eliza's husband, Margaret realized, and her daughter. From that day on, Margaret began her Sunday ritual, placing wildflowers at Eliza's grave, whispering stories to the wind. One quiet morning, as Margaret knelt to replace last week's wilted bouquet, a voice spoke behind her. "Excuse me, you've been coming here for a long time." She turned, startled. It was the same man, Daniel Grant, Eliza's husband, a CEO she remembered from the obituary. He looked exhausted, holding his little girl by the hand. Margaret stammered, "I am sorry. I didn't mean to intrude." But Daniel shook his head. "No, please don't stop. I've seen these flowers every week. You're the reason my wife's grave never looks lonely." He paused, voice cracking. "That's my wife's grave too." Lily, the little girl, peeked from behind his leg. "You're the flower lady," she said softly. "Mommy must really like you." Margaret smiled through tears. "She saved me once, dear. When the world forgot me." They sat together under an old oak tree as Lily played nearby. Margaret told him everything. The hospital days, the soup, the kindness that never asked for anything back. Daniel listened quietly. "She never told me," he whispered. "All those nights she came home late, I thought she was just tired. I didn't know she was spending her time healing someone else. That's who she was," Margaret said. "Love was her habit." Daniel nodded. "For months after she died, I was angry at everything, the world, God, myself. But hearing this, maybe she's still helping people. Even now." Weeks passed. Then one evening, Margaret heard a knock. It was Daniel and Lily. "Lily's been asking to see you," he said with a shy smile. "Would you join us for dinner?" Margaret hesitated, but the child's little hand slipped into hers, and she couldn't say no. That night changed everything. Margaret became a part of their lives. She helped with Lily's homework, baked cookies, told bedtime stories, and slowly, Daniel found himself healing too. One Sunday, 6 months later, Daniel arrived at Margaret's door again. "We were wondering if you'd come with us today," he said, "to visit Eliza, as family." Margaret's eyes filled with tears. "I'd love to." At the cemetery, 3 generations stood together. Daniel laid roses. Lily placed a drawing. Margaret added her wildflowers. "Mama," Lily whispered, "Miss Margaret makes me smile again." Daniel wrapped his arm around Margaret. "Eliza always believed love doesn't end, it just changes form. Maybe this is what she meant." Margaret smiled. She was right. Love doesn't die, it multiplies. Months later, Margaret moved into their guest room, not as a tenant, but as family. Lily called her Grandma Margaret. Daniel finally felt peace return to his home. Every Sunday, they still visited the grave, the three of them together, leaving flowers that spoke of healing, gratitude, and love reborn. And Margaret, once certain her story had ended, discovered that life still had one more beautiful chapter to give. Because sometimes, kindness doesn't just save lives, it creates new families,